Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first series of LB Presents Unite on Purpose. And the show is about the opportunity to bring together purpose-driven movement towards global unity. It's always been my belief that people should be seen and heard no matter where you live or the demographic that you live in. And it's really time to bring together the business community, the change makers, and the world leaders all had to have a conversation about what it means to unite on purpose and really create a new face for the modern world. So let me introduce to you my first guest of the whole series. I am very excited to introduce to you Andrew from Arran of Scotland. Andrew has been brought in. I met Andrew, who came into my Bob Business School I think it was about 6 months ago now, Andrew.
Early January.
Yeah, early January. And I have to say that Andrew blew me away, not only with his passion and his vitality, but also how his business had been running for the last 30 years. And he has a fantastic passion for, I will put it in my own language, being the voice of Arran, which is a place in Scotland. And I am one day coming to visit that place and having what would I be having? A haggis with you.
We'd welcome you to the island with a rolling sausage to begin with on the ferry.
So, Andrew, thank you for being my very first guest on Unite.
I'm honoured.
And I'm going to kick off, and I'm going to ask you: could you tell me about Arran and tell me about the business, because you have been going for 30 years, haven't you? And is it a family business?
So originally, we've been going, this is our 31st year. So originally, family business. Probably for the last decade, we've had private equity investment in the business as well. So much wider team and influence with the business. But everything we do is made on the island of Arran itself. It's all made there. Every product that we do is made there, all using the water from the island. And all the fragrances are inspired by the places on the island. So we've been exporting that for about 30 years.
And so was it your mum that got started with the business? What happened? Tell me. Is it a female-led business from your heart?
So the creativity, yes. So it started by my parents, Ian and Janet Russell, and they moved to the island almost 48 years ago, set up a small retail business and wanted to give people a product that they could take something of Arran away with them. They first started with that with something called Arran Mustard, which was our previous business. Many people may have heard of that and probably eaten it at some point. And then that evolved to bath and body. If you can make mayonnaise, you can make body lotion. And that was how the transition actually happened, believe it or not, and launched into Gift. So my mum was always the creative sort of driving force behind that. And my father, who's no longer with us, but he was the commercial driving force behind it as well.
So look, being a female entrepreneur, and as you know, I've always been an entrepreneur and I'm my fourth business, and I started in the world of retail. So you and I hit it off massively because I came from a retail manufacturing background and brought a lot of brands back that were dying on the high street. And I have to say, when I started out in my career when I was 18, there weren't that many women that were there in a space like your mum was. I mean, there were big people like Vivienne Westwood, and I got the opportunity to work with Catherine Hamnett for a number of years. And these were quite prominent people. But what was it like growing up with your mum and your dad and being a family-led entrepreneurial business? What was that like?
Probably the first thing is you never had much time to yourself, because when you finished school, you were always straight to the factory, making boxes, filling jam, filling mustard, filling petrol pumps. You were always doing something as part of the business. So my brother and I grew up with that from a very, very early age. So it's kind of always been ingrained in us how to sort of try and add value, but also that creativity piece around the business. I'm fortunate to work with some really creative people that sort of make everything we do look very good. But it was kind of right at the early days, just seeing them put something together almost out of nothing, and then add value to that and export it.
And why, I have to ask this question, why go from mustard to body lotion? Because that's quite a different transition. I mean, I went from shoes to building other people's brands, but I didn't go from mustard to body lotion. Talk to me about that. How did that
So
come?
it's quite interesting. So I think naivety adds a lot of these things. If you actually knew what you were in for when you started doing some of these things, you might not actually do them. But we'd admired another brand in the marketplace for many years who actually started their sort of business was half food and half bath and body, and we'd always admired the food side. And then when we sold the food business, we thought, right, okay, if you can make mayonnaise, you can make body lotion. They're basically oil and water. They taste a lot different, but there's a similar formulation properties to them. And we knew packaging, we knew filling, we knew production, and a little bit of sales and marketing. We'd been successful in selling to Boots and Marks and Spencers and all sorts of brands, as well as gift business. So we basically took what we knew from the Arran Provisions, the Arran Mustard business, and applied all of that to Arran Aromatics in the first instance, and then we rebranded to Arran Scents of Scotland more recently. But that was the transition, and again, it was, making soap, making candles are quite different from filling stuff into a jar. When we first started, we used to fill 60 jars of mustard an hour with a teaspoon, literally by hand, in the kitchen on a Kenwood mixer. And obviously now we use automated production lines as much as we can, because it's a bit more reliable.
And is your mum still in the business?
So she's retired now. But she's always asking me about it, and we kindly invite her to be a brand ambassador from time to time. So she's currently found herself on a series of Sky TV ads this month, which has been a shock to her, and people keep phoning me and going, somebody that looks just like your mum on the TV. And I goes, that is her. So she does. She's a spokesperson for us from time to time, and welcomes people to the island when we bring over guests and visitors.
So your mum must have seen many different things going on over the 40 years, and you must have seen it through her eyes as well. And look, I know from being in business from 18, because I started very young, and I know watching different recessions take place. I've never been through a pandemic, but I'm not sure if your mum has either. But what I would like to know is, I remember you sat in the business school and we sat and looked at your business, and we talked about what could you do with your business? How could you move it on? What was the purpose of your business? And I'm interested to know what's been the transition from sitting in that business school with me to then going and hitting a pandemic and sitting on a first webinar with me. What's been the transition and then the journey from that point?
Okay, so I think I loved the sitting in the business school with yourself and Darren. Day one, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought, I've got all the right answers here. I'm doing the right things. This is because it's the first time I'd actually been in a classroom for a long time, and then I think on day two, when we were talking about purpose, I'm sitting there next to Kevin, our CEO, and Claire, our head of digital, scratching my head, and then having to come up with what we do, and figuring out that we weren't purpose-led at that point in time. We'd been pushing for years. We'd been selling and marketing for years, and that's probably the biggest transition from my parents' era to now, is that sort of push into pull. So I left there, and we all left there excited, but kind of, how are we going to explain this? How are we going to talk to our customers about this? How are we going to raise the bar high enough? Then we came back, and it was probably 5 weeks later the pandemic hit, and we're all thinking, oh my, what's going to happen here? How do we keep the lights on? What are we going to do? But a real overriding wish to help as many people as we could in our community, and it was Janet, my mum, who got in touch with the team and said, there's no sanitizer on the island. There's nothing, there's a shortage of it. It was a real shortage of everything, right along with pasta and toilet roll and sanitizer were the three things probably. So we immediately made about 15,000 bars of soap, which was enough to give every family 5 bars. These little bars of soap. So we put them into little bags and utilize Visit Arran, a great tourist organisation on the island, and they said, look, we can get them into the schools, we can get them to all these places. My brother was delivering soap to these kids at primary schools. He was like the Pied Piper running in, and it was really, and all these kids excited about washing, you know. But we did that, and we, as a result of that, we started to get a lot more requests for help. You know, we were getting emails and phone calls from people working in healthcare in the front line, who were all struggling to get enough hand wash, hand cream, sanitizer. You know, they're really struggling to get those things, and really sort of struggling with them, you know, to sort of relax at the end of the day, or even get a break, or, you know, it was really difficult because all of these sanitizer products dry your hands out, so people were asking for all sorts of different things. So we gave more product away, and we started to get messages back from people, thank you messages back from people, which was really, we hadn't sought that. We were just wanting to do the right thing and contribute. And you know, we're getting all these messages back, people telling us how it lifted their spirits to know that somebody had thought of them, or it took them back to a place or a memory. They just felt good. They were feeling better from it. And that sort of, you know, after scratching my head in January, trying to figure out what our purpose was, these people were really kind and gave us so many messages. It was truly humbling to read all of these things. And, you know, they basically said, look, I feel better. It's really helping me mentally. And then I feel ready to go out again and, you know, go and see patients or go and visit people in their homes again and do all this sort of stuff. So from that, we sort of, as a team, we were like, I don't think we're in the soap business anymore. I think we're in the mental well-being business. You know, that sort of triggered our, you know, the light bulb moments for us, you know, and it was, you know, trying to capture that, and we captured that, you know, in our purpose. We wrote our purpose to help the world create empowering connections with nature, and we were so excited with that, because when you create an empowering connection with your environment, it strengthens your mental well-being and the contribution you can make in the world. And that was what came back from these people. So we then, you know, talking with Kevin and Claire and the team, and we were like, what else can we do? Because we're getting so many requests and we can't turn these. How do we help? So we managed to persuade our board and our investors to give away about £200,000 worth of more product, which is a lot for business our size.
A lot for a private equity house.
Well, like, again, it's interesting as to what, you know, why do it, but, you know, we obviously wanted to help. And we said, okay, because so much of what we do and what we make in these tiny little bottles in the hospitality industry, people go on holiday, they go on staycation, so they're going to get something of Arran in their rooms anyway when they stayed either on the island or in these other hotels. And so what we said was, we'll write to as many care homes, care in the community providers and hospitals as we can, and say this is a gift from us on behalf of our customers and our clients who would normally be looking after you at this time of year for a short break or something like that. And I know it's not quite the same as having a long weekend break and dinner and wine and all this sort of stuff, but if we can help take a little bit of that or give you a little bit of that, we do it. So we two of our team came off furlough as volunteers to help phone all of these organizations, and I think they had a fantastic month giving things away, and they said it was the best thing they'd ever done, and we were just, again, so humble to get all of the comments back, and you know, it's been very reinforcing for us, everything we've heard back from it. So that's kind of been that journey over that time.
So tell me, so there's a couple of things that you've said that I'd like to understand. So first off, when you did in the school, you were very business. It was a wonderful heritage business. You know, obviously it had been in the family for a number of years and so forth. We did sit in that school, and over the few days that I was with you, we had a bit of head scratching moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you came on that first webinar, and I started to see this I would describe it as the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. And every week you were coming on our webinars and you were turning into this beautiful butterfly. And I watched as your business started to open up, and not only your business opened up, but you opened up as a person and how you changed as a person. So could you tell me about that? Because it's not just the business conversation, but I've noticed a very big change in you, Andrew.
Yeah, I'll try and remember each of the points you've made there in answering that. And I think the first thing that, by coming to this sort of light bulb as a team and going, okay, this is our purpose and this is how we think we can make a difference with that. We're obviously, we didn't have a playbook to run with that apart, until the seminars came on, or the webinars, sorry, came on at the start of lockdown, and that was helping us guide through. So I guess I was one step ahead of some colleagues, in trying to, so I can't. They're not going to take credit. They're not all my ideas at all, but it was helping us implement what we were experiencing, and a sort of guiding light through that, and a sort of permission to do it. And I think, without going off at a tangent, we've had a lot of challenges over the years, and you can get beaten down. I was certainly in that spot. My mental well-being was not in a good place around that, and I had to force myself to think higher and higher, and then that was hard. And then what happened was the catalyst to actually go, yeah, we are making a difference. So I'm not sure we would have discovered this in the same way had COVID not happened. It presented a unique opportunity for us to get much closer to our consumers and the people that use and love the product, and that was very good. But through that time as well, as when you have investment and everybody's got a CEO and a CFO and an accountant in the background as well, they're going, this is great, but you're going to give all this stuff away. You're going to, and that we want to do that, we want to help, but how do we do more? How do we do more further down the line? And we were, our web, like many businesses, ours lost 90% of its sales overnight. At the start of this, it was really on their website that was still operating, and we've rebuilt probably the web to 40% of our sales now over that time. It's grown dramatically. We've grown our email database. There's been a lot of people have come in. We get picked up on the Lorraine show. Mark Hayes was kind enough to, as a result of the he was great. I didn't realize he'd actually been to Arran. He said, I've bought an advent calendar, I've been to the island, and I want to do a piece on how a scent can lift your spirits, because a lot of people need that at the moment. So we helped him with a show back, I think in maybe the beginning of May, and that was tremendous, and we got a good bump from that. So that I suppose was we hadn't set out to. None of this was marketing or sales. It was effectively we were leading with something we believed in, and we were passionate about. But the fact that it helped sales along the way was a sort of positive boost for my fellow board members who are always looking at the numbers and go, can we do this again? So it's allowed us to effectively keep doing bits and pieces along the way as well. So did I cover all your points in that?
You did. I'm going to ask you a question in a slightly different way, because I definitely do want an answer on something.
Okay.
So, there's a piece for me around what you could be. And this is the piece around, a lot of people look at purpose as a marketing strapline, and they go, and it used to be my mission, my vision, my values, and so forth. And they used to put it on their walls, or they'd go out and they'd do a great marketing campaign. And then you scratched the surface of the business, and it was still a very push sales-led business organization that had used a very clever marketing strapline at the front, but it wasn't really the business model. And what I've seen from you is this ray of sunshine, I have to say, that has lit up. It has. And even though it's been a very stressful, because I know I spoke to you at the early stage of the pandemic and lockdown when you said, you know, my whole business has just lost its revenue, basically, you know, like most businesses had in the lockdown. And the way that you've turned your business around from really sticking to being purpose driven and sticking to what we discussed, you didn't have it perfected in the school, and you've lived it and you've driven it into the business. And I want to understand from you the difference between a marketing strapline and driving it into the business, because that will really really for me kind of articulate what you could be and what you're moving into and where you're going.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. It's a really good point, because I think like many businesses or brands, you know, we've had the strap lines, we've used the mission statements most of the time, which they get, you know, you pay a lot of money for, they get written down, and you try and communicate them to the business, but they don't they don't get it. Sometimes you don't get it, and it can be a might statement, and you know, so you kind of they get pushed away, you know, or it might just appear on packaging, all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think the real change for me with the for the purpose, when we came up with our purpose to help the world create empowering connections with nature, you know, it's you pause when you share this, and you pause with this. And you know, talking with Kevin and Claire, and we kind of just our little team doing that. And figuring out all the words around this, everybody was just like, we've got it, you know, we get that. It wasn't difficult for us to believe that, and that we could do it. So it made sense. It felt right in here. You know, that was what we were aiming to do, because that's what the sense and the products, you know, we're taking people to a place, an Arran or a memory or something like that, with the sense. So creating empowering connection with nature. So that really sort of resonated. Didn't get any pushback from our team, from our board, from the wider people that we were sharing it with. It's not been shared with our consumer base yet. That's going to hopefully happen in the next week or two. We were going to share it with our workforce towards the end of this week. I've written a blog with the guys, and we're all writing what it actually means to us as well. So Kevin's written a paragraph, I have, you know, we're all going to do that as part of the sort of overall journey of how we've got here. But for the last probably 8 or 10 weeks ago, you encouraged us on the webinars to start talking to our teams about this, and through furlough, I had a whole sales team who were, you know, probably getting fed up with their DIY and needing something to do. So we started doing a Zoom call every Thursday after the L&D program, and talking about this. And again, you know, they can be your harshest critics, because they're the people that go out there and they're communicating what they believe and have to resonate. And everybody just loved where we were coming from. It felt really good. You know, and I said, this isn't just about, this is how we're going to try and conduct ourselves with everything. Now, if you go to our website, it's not on there yet. You know, it's not in all of the bits and pieces. There's so many touch points. We haven't started with the touch points yet, but there's a sort of guiding light of how we're going to go forward, because we say we want to partner with organizations that care about mental well-being as much as physical well-being and health. And that could be, you know, that's really broadened our minds as to who we could work with and talk to, but also how we interact with people. And I've seen my sales team, the people I've been talking to on a weekly basis, and they've kind of lit up with this. They can see it. It's, you know, I mean, that has been quite powerful, and how they're actually now communicating with people. You told us at the very start, don't sell your product or benefits or anything like that. Don't talk about your product, which inevitably you have to at some point. I think we do, but not as the opening spot. And you know, it's been really interesting how much further talking about our purpose has taken us in those conversations, even just during this short period of time. And we're all still learning what does that mean? But somehow I don't need a complicated strap line or anything like that to try and figure out what we're trying to do with this. It's kind of like we've all got an idea, and there's less right and wrong with it. Does it feel like it follows our purpose? And if it does, then that's okay to do. And that's what we're going to try and encourage people to do in the whole organization, and then share it themselves, because they've all got a different connection. So,
Andrew, if I said to you, what could you be? You've been doing this now through the pandemic, and you've seen an incredible response. And if I fast forward in a year from now and 2 years from now, what would great look like for you? What would it look like to sit with that purpose? What great things might you have achieved over the next 2 years?
Oh gosh, that you really put me on the spot here. You really are. I think it's, if but it is. We want to help the world create empowering connections with nature. So
tell me what that means for you.
So I think that means reaching a lot more people than we do now, and making that connection in whatever form meaningful to them, and giving them a personal connection. With nature, perhaps with our products, but at the end of the day, those are a vehicle to do that, and to take you to a place. So I think we're looking at technology and how we might create a virtual retreat to connect people who can't get to Arran to the island. So we're looking at that. I love the idea.
Like an Arran City with Bob somewhere.
Yeah, or an Arran Island. An
Arran Island. Oh, I'm loving it.
You could build a bridge for those that got seasick. That would be cheaper to do virtually than in reality. But we are also, so one of the things that's come out of this, as well as our podcast. So this Thursday we're launching the Arran podcast. Right. So we are as an organization are just going to be the sponsor in the background of this, but we said, okay, there's so many people come to the island. They talk about how it makes them feel, how they're relaxed, how they're kind of rejuvenated, and there's people that live there and get to enjoy that all the time. But we thought, what if we could find some good local people who know all different bits of the island that might have some great things to share, and some high-profile visitors that might kind of resonate with people about golf or the beach or the outdoors or walking or sports and all this sort of stuff. So we didn't put in any specific agenda to it. We just said we want to know how the island supports your mental well-being positively. And I'm really excited. I'm working with a lady called Kim McAllister, who's a journalist, and it goes live on Thursday, just called the Arran Podcast, from any of your podcast providers, and there's eight interviews for 8 weeks. So we hope that's purpose driven, but that's to help the island, because obviously the island's been closed for all this time, again, this was, so if we want to help people's mental well-being, we want to help people who come to the island, but we also want to help the people that live there, and it's their livelihoods as well. And if we can help draw more attention to the island positively to them, we'll do that. But we've got some exciting product plans as well. I'll get into that in the athleisure space, so that's coming out next year. But many people as possible. And I think one of the other things you've taught us is that, business to business, B2B is changing, B2C is changing, and it should be B2P, business to people. And I think we do recognize, our again, those little products that we give away are in a lot of hotel bedrooms around the world. We'd like to talk to all of them, and that will be, about mental well-being and a bit about connecting them with nature, and doing that. So there's a lot of things we're looking at like that.
So so I'm going to ask this on every single show. And the reason for setting up this interview was because we are running a campaign, which is all around Unite on Purpose.
Yeah, and here it is.
We are all uniting our purposes together so that we can create one Earth with 1 billion purposes. And the question I'm going to ask everybody that's going to come on this show is, so tell me, what are you known for, Andrew Russell? And how do you want to leave people feeling?
So I'm not sure if I'm known for it yet, because we're just starting this off, but I want to be known for helping the world create empowering connections with nature. And I want to leave people feeling good and feeling that they are more uplifted and positive from any contact or experience they have with me or with the brand, as well. So you put me on the spot, but that's it in a nutshell.
Can I thank you so much for coming and being my first guest on the Unite on Purpose show. And I am really going to enjoy campaigning with you on the 30th of July. And I know you're getting yourself ready to launch your campaign so that you can campaign with us. If you see this, shh, Join the Quiet Revolution. You will know that we are part of it. If you would like to come and join our revolution, then please do contact us. Thank you, Andrew, for spending the time for 30 minutes and hanging out on the first show.
That's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you. And I would like to say to everybody, if you enjoyed that and you would like to get more information, tomorrow night I have got Charles from the Food People, and he is all about shifting the food industry. So if you'd like to come and understand what trends are happening in the food world, he is a wealth of knowledge, and I think you'll get a lot of information about that. I'm going to be live at 5 o'clock every single evening, and I have an interview with a very special business each night, and they are talking about how do you unite on purpose. And if you'd like to come and join the Quiet Revolution, then come and see me on any LinkedIn channel, my LinkedIn, Lindsay Boyd, my Instagram, Twitter, or any other social channel that I'm normally traveling around on. Or why not become a citizen of Bob Earth? And you will see me traveling around on the earth with all of these different businesses, and we will welcome you with open arms. Bob Earth is the first purpose-led platform that connects businesses all around the world to trade. So if you would like to build a brand, to grow a business, to impact an industry and shift the world, then come on, join the Quiet Revolution. Shh.